The Middle East deadlock, negotiations, strategies, and the cost of delay. Welcome. Today we are stepping back into one of the most complex geopolitical arenas in modern history. The escalating tension between Iran, Israel, and the United States. After months of devastating conflict and shadow warfare, the diplomatic gears are turning once again. We find ourselves back at the negotiation table. However, the atmosphere is thick with skepticism. In the Middle East, a seat at the table doesn't always mean a desire for peace. Often, it is a tactical maneuver to buy time or reposition assets. Today, we will dissect the current state of these negotiations. We will look at the accusations of underhanded antics by Western powers, the international pressures facing the Iranian leadership, and the critical question that defines this moment: who actually needs this ceasefire the most? The current landscape, a triangle of tension. To understand the negotiations, we must first understand the current posture of three main players. Israel is currently fighting a multi-front war, from the tunnels of Gaza to the northern borders with Hezbollah, and the direct long-range exchanges with Tehran. The Israeli Defense Forces are stretched. Prime Minister Netanyahu faces a dual challenge: maintaining national security while navigating a fractured domestic political landscape. On the other side, Iran is playing a high-stakes game of regional influence. For years, Tehran has operated through proxies, the axis of resistance, but recently the mask of proxy warfare has slipped, leading to direct confrontations that have brought the two nations to the brink of total regional war. Then we have the United States. Washington is attempting a delicate balancing act. They are committed to Israel's security, yet they are desperate to prevent a wider regional conflict that could disrupt global energy markets and drag American boots back onto Middle Eastern soil during a sensitive domestic political cycle. The negotiation table, diplomacy or deception. As we return to the negotiation table, we must address the underhanded antics often cited by regional analysts. In the world of high-stakes diplomacy, what is said in a press conference rarely matches what is happening in the intelligence briefings. Critics of U.S. policy argue that Washington uses negotiations as a stalling tactic. By keeping the hope of ceasefire alive, the U.S. can theoretically restrain Israel from a full-scale escalation against Iran's nuclear facilities, while simultaneously providing a military aid that allows localized operations to continue. Conversely, Tehran is often accused of using these talks to gain sanction relief or to pause Israeli momentum without actually dismantling its proxy networks. The underhanded nature of these talks stems from a fundamental lack of trust. When one side offers a bridge proposal, the other side sees a trap. This cycle of talk and fight has become the new status quo, where diplomacy is not an alternative to war but a component of it. The Israeli perspective: security versus stability. Does Israel need a ceasefire? The answer is complicated. Militarily, Israel has the upper hand in terms of technology and air superiority. However, a war of attrition is not in Israel's long-term interest. The economic toll of mobilizing hundreds of thousands of reservists is immense. Furthermore, the humanitarian and international political pressure regarding Gaza has reached a boiling point. For Israel, a ceasefire might be the strategic necessity to regroup, replenish munitions, and address the growing threat from the north, but there is a fear in Jerusalem that a ceasefire now without total neutralization of threats simply guarantees a more violent conflict 2 or 3 years down the line. This is why we see the Israeli leadership moving the goalposts. They are looking for a definitive victory, not just a temporary pause. The Iranian position, survival and sovereignty. Now let's look at Tehran. Does Iran need a ceasefire? Perhaps more than they are willing to admit. Iran's economy is suffocating under the weight of international sanctions. Domestic unrest is a constant shadow over the regime. While Iran excels at asymmetrical warfare, a direct sustained conventional war with Israel and the U.S. would be catastrophic for the Islamic Republic infrastructure. Iran's strategy has always been strategic patience. They want to bleed their enemies through 1,000 small cuts. A ceasefire allows Iran to preserve its axis of resistance and continue its nuclear enrichment program under a slightly less intense spotlight. For Tehran, the negotiation table is a shield. It provides the diplomatic cover necessary to avoid direct strike on their soil while they continue to project power through Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq. The U.S. role, the great facilitator. United States finds itself in a position where it is both the mediator and a primary backer of one of the combatants. This creates an inherent friction. The U.S. needs a ceasefire to stabilize global oil prices and to pivot its focus toward the Indo-Pacific and Ukraine. However, the underhanded accusations often stem from the U.S. trying to have it both ways. They want to be the peacemaker while remaining the arsenal of democracy for Israel. This dual role often leads to mixed signals. One day Washington is calling for restraint, the next day they are approving the multi-billion-dollar arms sales. This inconsistency leads both Iran and Israel to question the true American objective. Is it peace or is it managed instability? In conclusion, who really needs the ceasefire? So who is really in need of a ceasefire? If we look at the leaders, the answer is murky. For Netanyahu, Khamenei, or the leadership in Washington, a ceasefire is a tactical choice. But if we look at the people, the civilians in Gaza, the residents of northern Israel, and the millions of Iranians living under economic collapse, the need for a ceasefire is absolute. True diplomacy requires more than just sitting at a table. It requires a willingness to concede. As long as the U.S. and Iran use these negotiations as a theater for underhanded antics and strategic posturing, the cycle of violence will continue. The Middle East stands at a crossroads. The negotiations currently underway could be the first step towards a new regional architecture, or they could simply be the quiet before a much larger storm. History suggests caution, but the human cost demands urgency. Thank you for joining us for this analysis. We will continue to monitor these developments as they unfold. Stay informed. We will see you in the next briefing. And don't forget, if you like this presentation, please like, subscribe, and share. And hit that bell so you know you don't miss no videos that we have coming. But remember, thank you. This is The Real Shift. And I'm Ro, your host. Appreciate your time to this matter. Thank you.